Everyone, Nico Villasana here. Wanted to get this video in before I go into hibernation. Yeah, that's about 5 layers worth of blankets right there. If any of you guys live in New York like me, you can tell it's probably a little chilly outside. Anyways, wanted to do something different for my usual movie reviews. Wanted to do kind of like a YouTube style video kind of review. Very unique, never done before, especially not from the likes of such creators as Nostalgia Critic and Moist Critical, which, by the way, if you guys ever find the time, you should definitely go check out their videos. But I figured because the movie I saw, Iron Lung, is directed, produced, and starred by a YouTuber, it should be kind of a YouTube given review. So before I get into it, just wanted to give some context to the movie and to myself, kind of. First off, I am a huge Markiplier fan. He was the go-to YouTuber I watched growing up. I love his videos, his horror videos, and he even had a sort of kind of his own kind of movies. Growing up, I saw them. They were called, they had various kind of a variety. For example, Heist with Markiplier, Date with Markiplier, and I believe his most recent one was Space with Markiplier. They were YouTube Red shorts, kind of movies where it was in the style of a point-and-click adventure where you can click on varying paths, different scenarios, and the budget for that was insane, especially on a YouTube show budget. But you can tell, like, this is a guy who puts a lot of thought and care into any project that he works on. And Iron Lung is no exception. Iron Lung is based on a video game by David Szymanski. It is a sort of flash video game that kind of had a Five Nights at Freddy's resurgence, where the creator slowly, in updates, added more to the lore of Iron Lung, because it is very interesting lore that I will get into without trying to get into spoilers. But what I say, is the movie a good adaptation of the game? Very much so. In one of the first trailers for the Iron Lung movie, they did a side-by-side of the actual console that you work on for the video game and the video game the console that is seen in the movie. To give some premise of the kind of sort of Iron Lung plot, as I would say, again, not a lot of plot to use in the game, even with the added lore Szymanski added later on in his updates. The overall plot is basically you play as a convict who is put into this very rundown submarine codenamed the Iron Lung, and are essentially put onto a planet whose entire ocean is made of blood. The reason for this is because through some unknown reasons, a quiet rapture sort of happened in this universe. Most of the planets and stars died or are slowly dying, and the only remnants of humanity are on the space stations. And the hope is that they send the convicts to this planet to gather any evidence as to perhaps why the rapture happened, or perhaps a way to sustain themselves. The convict, whose name is never given in the game, is taken on this task as a means of redemption in his eyes, or he gains anonymity, freedom, if he completes this mission. The gameplay is pretty simple. You just have your console that you use to go to different coordinates that are mapped out for you in the game. You go to these coordinates, snap a photo, and you see what the photo is. There is no sort of window where you can see what's outside. The only means of vision in this sort of blood moon is this very flash photography. And you take these photos for a few days until a monster comes up, and that starts a whole new thing. And you try to learn, and basically the whole thing is you try to learn more about the planet, take all the photographs before the monster eats you. That is the bare bones plot of Iron Lung, the game. Now, again, not a lot to work with when you're making a 2-hour or so movie, but Markiplier, for the most part, I think gets it done pretty well. He definitely does not try to expand a lot on the actual lore on Iron Lung. Again, there's nothing much to work with, but let's finally get into the movie. So we get a little I'll try not to get in the spoilers as much as I can. Markiplier has said multiple times He wants people to go in with an open mind, no spoilers. One of the big spoilers he said of the movie is the convict's name. In the movie, as opposed to the games, the convict is given a name, so I will refer to him as either convict or just flat out Mark. But basically, most of the lore given to the game is explained in like the first 2 minutes. You kind of get like an opening narration, and it seems like Mark does try to add more onto the lore throughout the movie. He sprinkles some stuffs in, not too much, but enough to like get like the theories going as to what is happening on this planet and whatnot. And this is a full-on bottle movie, meaning it takes place in one setting, aka the submarine. There are a few kind of memory dream scenes. Again, try not to get too much spoilers that kind of get us out in the sub, but for the most part, it is just Mark, the convict, and the sub. And oh my god, for a movie that had a budget of, I believe, $3 million, the set design is absolutely spectacular. I believe I saw a behind-the-scenes video of Mark showcasing the submarine on a sort of kind of gyro motion spear that would move left and right, because there are a lot of movies. So there are a lot of scenes in this movie where Mark is bouncing around, back and forth, moving side to side. They could have easily just had him on a set and have Mark fake acting, like falling down and up again. But no, they put this guy to the limit and shake him in this really spectacular rig. That is an incredible piece of filmmaking. And again, props to the entire cast and crew of getting this movie out there, and just on an independent company. The fact that fans have campaigned to have this wide release, it is phenomenal, and it seems like it is getting a lot of its budget back, and even then some, which congrats to the team on that accomplishment. But what do I think of the movie? I think it's good. I think it's really good. I was kind of, again, I am a huge fan of Mark's YouTube shorts, and I know he did that with kind of like, YouTube budget, so I kind of expected that to kind of shine really here. Like a similar, like I was going to watching this movie expecting it to be watching another one of his YouTube shorts, but no, I could not tell that this movie did not have a low budget. They used their money wisely. It looked like a great movie you would see anywhere. Now there are a few scenes where like the CGI backgrounds tend to not look right, but for the most part, the practicality, even like some of the visuals you see in the movie really stands out. It's really memorable. But again, Markiplier is a YouTuber, so how is he as an actor? I think he does a very good job. Not great. The thing about Markiplier is most of his, if you're a fan of Markiplier, most of his content is he's either screaming at something that jumps out in the camera, or is raging and yelling at the camera if he plays like some sort of rage game. And I think for the quiet moments, which there are a few in there, Mark's acting is really good. I don't really see him as Markiplier, but if there's like a scene where like he's like either yelling or cursing, which is a lot, it is hard to differentiate the convict from just Markiplier as a whole, but I think overall he does a good job throughout the movie in terms of his acting. And there are other cast members throughout this movie as well that do a great job. I think one of the big issues I had with the movie is there were some audio mixing issues. Again, try not to get too much into what happens, but there are a few moments where, you hear some static, some whispering, some kind of crack in like this system. This is not a spoiler, but most of the audio comes from either Mark himself or a speaker system installed into the submarine that acts as a point of contact for the convict and the people who put him on the sub for this mission. It is hard to make out some of the dialogue, which I feel it's kind of hard to critique, because Mark has stated that while there was some audio mixing issues for the movie, for the most part, it was intentional to have some of the audio non-understandable for people to come back and perhaps listen in more about what they're saying. And I saw it on one of the last days it was in movie theaters. I believe Markiplier has said he plans to add a physical DVD copy releasing soon, which I will be the first to buy. Again, physical media forever. But I will be watching that for sure, and I hope that the physical media release where I can watch with captions or in a more closed space, I can understand the dialogue more, and I really hope that this, for the most part, for a lot of people, improves their review or takes on Iron Lung. But aside from the audio issues, I think it was all pretty good. I wouldn't really call this a horror movie per se, more like the psychological kind of mind-numbing, maybe a bit of cosmic eldritch kind of vibe, but not really horror. There's no jump scares every 5 seconds. No, the horror is just kind of the concept of a man stuck in a submarine on a blood moon, and he has no idea what is out there is all the horror you really need. But again, I think it is a great movie. Probably on a scale from 1 to 10, I'd probably give it about 6.5 stars. I think it does a good job of adapting the Iron Lung game. It does a great job of having you hooked the entire time. Aside from some audio issues, I think you can definitely understand the mood. And again, it's one of those movies where you will probably have to watch multiple times to get a sort of understanding of what might have happened throughout the movie. Definitely not an all-in-the-head kind of movie. I think there's a lot of stuff that actually does happen. That might be another critique, though, is that, with these kind of movies, especially of the cosmic and eldritch variety, it's hard to tell fact from fiction. So it's kind of hard. It was kind of hard for me personally to follow, especially towards the end, which is where it kicks really into high gear. I love for the most part, but it was kind of hard to, again, kind of add to the audio issues of exactly what happened at the end, and was it all what was real and what was made up or was an illusion. But I think I will probably change my mind once I get the physical release and I get a more understanding of the conversations that are had, some maybe points or cues I might have missed. But overall, it was a great movie, and I can't wait to watch it again on home video. Congrats to Markiplier and the crew, and I hope to see another project from him in the future. And that's about it. Thanks for watching.